Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here, and it's time for a new video. It's time for video number 7 out of 10 today in my top 50 albums list of the 1990s. And I've been looking forward to this video in particular because it is quite a strange one. Obviously, I've saved the top 50 list along with a link to the YouTube video of my favourite actual particular song from each album. There's no other way of doing it, obviously. I'd have to do it video by video, you know, in terms of getting the link. So I did it all at once. Once I made my top 50 list, I painstakingly, one by one, to search the song on YouTube, copy and pasted the link into a Word document. It took me a bit of time, obviously, but it had to be done. And now it is done. And obviously, every week I do this, I look at the list. And I've been looking forward to this particular video because there are 3 metal albums and 2 rap albums, and I just find that quite funny for some reason. I think it's 2 metal albums, then 2 rap albums, and then a metal album, whereas on other videos so far it's been a rock album, metal album, electronic, folk album, you know, there's been a bit of variety, but here and there. But with this video, it's just rap and metal purely, ladies and gentlemen, so if you're interested in that, then stay tuned. Yes, let's delve straight in with album number 20, and like I said, it is a metal album, and it is Dreaming Neon Black by the band Nevermore. This was Nevermore's 3rd full LP, released in January 1999, amassing 60 minutes. It runs at 66 minutes in length, and Wikipedia says that there are a few more ballad songs on this album. There certainly are, but the guitar tone from Mr. Jeff Loomis is absolutely sensational. For me, Jeff Loomis is one of the best metal guitarists of all time. And if you're into heavy music, metal of all kinds, really, and you've never listened to Nevermore, then you're missing out. For me, one of the best metal bands ever. They are no more, Nevermore. They split up in 2010. Interesting story, actually. Their album, The Obsidian Conspiracy, some really good songs on that album, but the record label supposedly wanted them to water down their product. They wanted shorter songs, less solos, and more to the point. Nevermore weren't having it. They did do that, but it's just so sad. That's a good album, The Obsidian Conspiracy, but it could have been a great album, and the band wanted to expand on what they released, but the record label wouldn't let them. Absolutely astonishing. So sad, but there we have it. But for me, this is the best album. If you check the Wikipedia page, it's got a 2.5 star out of 5 rating from allmusic.com. It's pretty bizarre in my opinion, because this is an absolute masterpiece. But you look online and a lot of people agree with me. The guitar tone, like I said here, is so heavy. Jeff Loomis does something called ghost bending, I believe. Like I said in previous videos, I can't articulate myself in terms of musical instruments. I don't know the technicalities of them, even though I love all types of music. But I think ghost bending is when you get your fingers and like with the strings and like that. I don't know, but hey, just listen to it. It's unbelievable. And I think that is the case on the tracks on here. It's very misanthropic. It's the kind of music Nevermore are, and the vocals by Mr. Warrell Dane are very high and operatic. Not usually my favourite kind of vocals in metal, but the music is so heavy and full on that you could also almost imagine a death metal kind of vocal with the music, yet you've got these kind of clear vocals, and that's what I love, because with this kind of music usually you get death metal growls, shrieks and whatever, and I'm not too keen on those kind of vocals usually. You'll see that's different in the case of the next album on the list, but yeah, it just works in Nevermore's music. Talented bunch of guys. For me, one of the best metal bands ever. But yeah, like I said, very misanthropic nature in the lyrics, political as well. The songs, The Death of Passion, Beyond Within. Listen to Beyond Within. I Am the Dog, Fault of the Flesh, All Play Dead, No More Will is a bit of a ballady kind of song. Poison God Machine. Dreaming Neon Black, the actual self-titled, is an absolutely gorgeous song, and it's actually the album, and some of the songs are about a girlfriend of Warrell Dane's just before the album was released. Basically, if I can find the story here on the Wikipedia page, I do apologise, I'm leaning in, I've not got my glasses on, but obviously I don't want you guys to see the glare all the time. Let me just find it. Yeah, his old girlfriend left him when she joined a religious cult and was never heard from again. He began having nightmares of her crying out to him as she drowned. Absolutely astonishing, gives me goosebumps every time. And this is detailed in the song Dreaming Neon Black. It's a true story. He never saw her again, doesn't know what happened to her. They were nearly like, it was a very serious relationship. And it's just like, wow, what a story. Absolutely amazing. But if you want a dirt metal album with amazing solos and technical guitar ability, and everyone on point in the band, Dreaming Neon Black by Nevermore, ladies and gentlemen. Would be a fantastic album for you to listen to. Anyway, album number 19 now, and we're still on the metal vibe, ladies and gentlemen. And like I said in my previous video, death metal vocals aren't really my bag, but here is an exception to the rule. It is Slaughter of the Soul, and it is the 4th studio album by Swedish melodic death metal band At the Gates. This was released November 14, 1995, and it is only 34 minutes long. Absolutely amazing. But believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, there is a hell of a lot packed into that 34 minutes. Actually 11 tracks on the album in total. Blinded by Fear opens the album off, and the thing is with this album, the first couple of times you listen to it, the songs all sound very similar. Utterly brutal drums, guitar, shrieking vocals by Thomas Lindberg. It's drum blast, what they call them, drum beats, where the drums go. It's just so full on and furious. Yet a lot of the fans of the band at the time thought that this was a little bit more accessible. Their older music, the production isn't so clean. I've listened to it. I like Terminal Spirit Disease, the album before this, the 3rd album, but the first 2 albums I just can't get into. Yeah, I've seen a lot of purist, elitist metalheads who love it. Maybe they are great albums, and they're just not for me. Credit where credit's due. The band are very good, and it might just not be for me because the production is a little too muddy. But with this album, the production's very clean, very clear, very crisp, very good. You can hear everything so well. You can see it's been fine-tuned, but the songs are still very technical, very much to the point. The majority of songs here between 2 and 3 minutes, and it's really interesting. These songs do not stick around. Short 10-20 second solos here and there. Most of the songs follow a chorus verse chorus kind of routine, and for me this is a great album for people to listen to if they don't like extreme metal but they like normal metal and they want to at least experiment and see whether they can get into an album like melodic death metal. This would be a great album to listen to, and maybe that's why the purists don't like this album, but it's still seen as a landmark metal album. In Flames were also making great albums around this time, but I've always preferred the best music of At the Gates to In Flames. It's just the way it is. I think these guys are from Gothenburg, where it all went down. Yeah, Gothenburg. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to leave it there. Album number 19, Slaughter of the Soul, and my favourite track on the album is World of Lies. That is, for me, the ultimate headbanging album. And if you want to have a good old headbang, listen to that album. It's absolutely fantastic. But this next album won't have you headbanging, ladies and gentlemen. It'll have you doing all sorts, because there is all sorts on this album. And from this particular man, from this particular rapper, you might not have expected this album. Certainly fans of him would have expected his prior album. Of course, this is his last album, because he was gunned down later that year. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is Tupac, and it is All Eyez on Me. Now, when I first started listening to this album and Tupac's music about 3 or 4 years ago now, I initially struggled to get into this album because it is a double album, running in at 1 hour and 32 minutes in length. Wow! How long is that, ladies and gentlemen? Absolutely astounding. Way over 2 hours. This album was released February 1996, recorded October 1995, released on the Death Row record. And like I said, this was to be Tupac's last album. Don't get me wrong, the album prior to this, which was Me Against the World, is a great album. It isn't a double album. But this, when you look at the samples, when you look at all the notes and the details about it, when you look at the collaborators, when you look at the guest writers, the funk and soul inspired songs on here, the heavy, hard-hitting gangster tracks, the ballads, the heartfelt moments. For me, this is genuinely one of the best rap albums ever made. And of course, a lot is said about Tupac these days, about how he's overrated and all this. I'm not saying he's the best rapper ever in terms of technical ability and lyrics, but in terms of persona and presence and passion, you know, he's well up there. And in this album, like I said, there is all sorts going on. There's not that many weak tracks either. Initially, I thought there was when I first started listening to it, but no, there are some absolutely fantastic songs on here that are pretty damn underrated. Like Scandalous. The bass on this album is unbelievable. It really is. You've got songs from, where is he? Larry Troutman. He was a writer. I think he was Zapier, like one of those 70s funk bands. And also the guys from Parliament and Funkadelic. Rap owes a lot to those bands and those artists and those guys in those bands. Really do. 2 of America's Most Wanted featuring Snoop Dogg. That has got to be one of the coolest songs ever. Yet again, check out that bass. You got Dr. Dre on here producing a few of these tracks, ladies and gentlemen. California Love, of course, absolutely amazing. Check out Time, Picture Me Rolling. Holler at Me, which is an underrated song which people don't really know that well. I Ain't Mad at Ya is a lovely song. All About You, about those scandalous whores, as he says in the track. How Do You Want It? Did I already? Only God Can Judge Me. You know, life goes on. It's there's another ballad. It's got, like I said, heavy, hard-hitting gangster songs, ballads, great funk, great soul, great personality from Tupac, juggling those two sides of him, the gangster and the genuinely decent fella. Who, you know, I've read up a lot online and everything. Supposedly he had a pretty difficult background, but he wasn't supposedly as much of a gangster as his music actually led on. Of course, it got him into trouble, and we all know what happened, and then what happened to the Notorious B.I.G. the year after. All utterly ludicrous. But, you know, it is pretty bad to say this, but that kind of beef made the music better. These days, I'm not too keen on a lot of modern rap. A little bit here and there I can get into, but I don't know. I just don't think the game is as good as it used to be. Know what I'm saying? But yeah, my favourite track on the album, I'm going to go for All Eyes on Me, but it could be anything really. Such a good album, and there's something there for everyone. Anyway, number 17 now, ladies and gentlemen, the top 50 albums list of the 1990s, and it is rap yet again. But this album is pretty consistent with its mood, unlike the prior rap album. It is The Low End Theory, and it is the second album by American hip-hop group A Tribe Called Quest, released September 24th, 1991, just after my second birthday. Holy shit. This ran in at 48 minutes in length, and this album, ladies and gentlemen, and Tribe Called Quest's music in general, is heavily sampled with old jazz samples, and it's all about the jazz. One of the songs is called Jazz. We've got Scenario, Check the Rhyme, Butter. Oh, you know, this album, I won't call it unique. It kind of is, but what I like about this album is it's got really hard-hitting beats, but it's still groovy. It's chilled out. It's really chilled, but at the same time it's dark. And it's just, that's the unique thing about this album for me. It's dark, but it's relaxed. So it's not dark and it's grimy, it's in the ghetto, and it's quite violent and aggressive. It's just really, really cool. Kind of juxtaposed emotions, you might say. I don't know, but yeah. Everything is for vibes and stuff. And very nearly decided to put in the album after this, Midnight Marauders. into the list. That is also an absolutely fantastic album. But in the end, I decided that this is the true masterpiece. You look online, if you're looking to get into rap that isn't all about smacking big booty bitches, then this is an album to get started with, believe you me. Q-Tip and Five Dog are the main MCs. Ali Shaheed Muhammad is the main guy making the beats, and he knows how to do them. Absolutely fantastic production and sampling, but great rhymes and flow from Q-Tip and Five Dog. I have always preferred Q-Tip to Five Dog, but the band wouldn't be the same without him. And also Jerobi White, I think he did vocals every so often, but he wasn't in the band all the time. I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, the first album as well, People's Instinctive Travels and the Paths of Rhythm, is also a great album. And then in 1996 they released Beats, Rhymes and Life, which was a little bit more hard hitting. It was 1996, so it was right at the peak of the gangster era and the G-Funk era. And then they released an album in 1998 called The Love Movement. And obviously Tupac had died, Notorious B.I.G. had died, other rappers had died in that time as well. And the game was changing, and I guess that album title reflects that. But that album was the first kind of bad album, to be honest with you, and that was the last. Q-Tip has released some solo material, it's pretty good. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, A Tribe Called Quest, this is an absolutely fantastic album, but they're an absolutely fantastic hip-hop group. So that's number 17, The Low End Theory. And my favourite track from the album is Jazz, in brackets, We've Got. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the last album on the list today, number 16. I like this band overall, across their discography. I think they've been very, very inconsistent, but you've got to respect them. It is a metal album, obviously. I do prefer Slayer and Metallica to this band, but in saying that, I'm not sure Metallica and Slayer have released an album this consistent, this hard-hitting, and just generally this good. It is Megadeth, and it is Rust in Peace, ladies and gentlemen. This album was recorded in 1989 and 1990, so it only just made it into the list. It was released September 1990, so had it been released 9 months prior, I wouldn't have been able to put it in the list, needless to say. This album only runs in at 40 minutes in length, but it didn't need to be any longer. There is so much compacted into that 40 minutes. There isn't a misstep on this album. It is an absolute metal masterpiece, ladies and gentlemen. Opening up with Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, Hangar 18, Take No Prisoners, that is so good. Five Magics, Poison Was the Cure, Lucretia, Tornado of Souls, Dawn Patrol, which some people think is a little bit of a skip, you know, a track you can skip, or a filler track, whatever. I don't agree. It's got this really cool bass and it's slow. It's got Dave Mustaine doing these creepy kind of vocals. I think it works really well, and it leads up to the last song on the album, Rust in Peace, Polaris. Or Polaris, it sounds like he's saying in the album. But yeah, absolutely astounding drumming here from Nick Menzer on this album. Marty Friedman helping out Dave Mustaine on those guitars. Bass guitar by Dave Ellefson. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name right there. But yeah, 40 minutes in length. But just look at the track list. If you guys have listened to this album before, you'll know where I'm coming from. It is so consistent. Unbelievable technical ability and solos from Dave Mustaine. Political lyrics all over the place. You've got a bit of humour here and there. Of course, I can't remember what his name is, but they kind of had their own mascot back in the day, Megadeth. They still have him these days. I think he was on the cover of the 13 album. It's the guy with a skeleton head, but I can't actually remember what his name is. And obviously, Iron Maiden have got their own mascot. I can't remember the names of them for the life of me. I'll remember as soon as I click stop on this video. But yeah, he's on the front cover, and there's some kind of alien in a kind of little coffin, and there's all these politicians behind with their hands like that. Absolutely fantastic. But yeah, Megadeth, Rust in Peace. I don't really need to say any more, ladies and gentlemen. It is a consistent masterpiece. I've not listened to it in about 2 years. I might change that just now. But my favourite track from the album is Take No Prisoners. And as Dave Mustaine says after that, take no shit. But ladies and gentlemen, won't you join me in the next video? Video number 8 out of 10, as we detail albums 15, 14, 13, 12 and 11. We're getting close to that top 10 now. We're nearly there, we're nearly finished. I thoroughly enjoyed making these videos, even though they're not getting many views. When they're done, we'll get back to video gaming. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, next week, I'll see you.